Yeah.
Oh, dude, I've forgotten that so many times, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks.
That clap, dude.
Welcome.
Gotta have that
back
clap,
to
dude.
Van Brain. Gotta have that clap.
Gotta have the clap, dude.
Except for if you're on tour, actually, then you don't want to have the clap.
Yeah.
That's no good.
I
You just don't, in general, want to have the clap.
No, I don't even know what that is. I just know you don't want it. You know?
Unless it's
The clap.
Yeah,
It's chlamydia.
yeah, but I don't know what this.
It's a very simple
You
explanation.
don't want to have it. I know that.
Nah, dude.
I've never
Unless
had-
you're the Wiggles. There's like this Wiggles song where they're just like, I got the clap and I'm
yeah.
giving it to you. You got the clap and you're giving it to me.
That's very inappropriate.
Yeah, well, they're talking about clapping.
That's so
I
funny.
know that, but still, it's,
To children.
I think I knew that and
I
just,
kicked out.
and just forgot or pushed that out of my head.
I'll never.
the clap
So
by
funny.
the Wiggles. That's all kinds of strange.
Sheesh.
Well-
They didn't know.
We were talking about that you were excited to talk about. Oh, The Alchemist or something.
Oh yeah, so guys, so
about-
for everybody at home, we have a special guest here. You might notice a fourth voice,
Oh, yeah,
especially
that's
for
right.
our
I forgot all about
listeners
that.
at home. You forgot all. Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
true.
Oh yeah, Tim's here.
Tim's here. Tim, I don't even know your last name. What's your last name?
Donnelly.
Tim Donnelly is here. Tim is our manager, booking agent, a general great guy, runs the Bison Barn in Coopersburg, PA, and just a great guy. So welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
You're our first guest.
Oh, that is an honor.
Yeah.
Very first guess.
Yeah, it's appropriate because Tim's been cooking some stuff up with some of the Medusa disco side of the band.
Behind the scenes.
Behind them scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy to be part of the team.
But yeah, basically we were already ripping and going before we hit record. So you guys were talking
Right.
about like Sam Harris, some meditation, some
Right.
books, Celestine Prophecy,
Yeah.
and Tim was starting to talk about The Alchemist. Man, you guys, our normal fucking jiving is too good. I had to make sure get
to put a pause on
let's
things.
record
So you're
this
like,
shit.
hold on, we're still
this is-
setting up.
People want to hear
Yeah,
this
Look at
shit.
it. We need more water for the pool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't know anything about The Alchemist.
Nah, neither do I.
Well, you had started saying about the one that was talking about noticing signs and things like that. And the whole-
Yeah. Coincidences and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's basically a story about a person going on a journey and following omens and things like that. So it was a similar kind of theme through that, but it's just like really good. It's pretty simple too. Like it's
Yeah.
an easy read and
Straightforward.
like a very kind of brass tacks type of like approach. It's just
Right on.
an easy access.
It's
to
a
that.
very easy to read book.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm into that shit.
Yeah.
I don't read very much, but a few times a year.
That was given to me as a birthday present when I lived in New York. The gentleman who ran the studio I worked at, I worked in like recording studios and shit.
Yeah.
And he was the same guy who signed my band. This guy from Serbia named Milan, great guy, an insane bassist.
Sounds epic.
Insane bassist. And his whole frame of rock and roll was Deep Purple from the 70s. That's like all he knew. It was like that's where he was coming from. So I was
Nice.
like, all right, that's a good place to come from. Good
Absolutely.
perspective. But he gave me that as a birthday present. He's like, read this. Like this, like I was a young man. I was like 20, 22. He's just like this. You should read this and it'll help you.
Yeah.
And probably should read it again because it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Probably
It's
read
worth
it.
revisiting. I came to it after doing like a fair amount of mushrooms, and somebody gave it to me, and now like I've started making a habit of if I have a copy and somebody's going through some shit, I'll end up giving it to them.
Nice.
And then if somebody else, if I see it in like a used bookstore or something for like $2, I'll always scoop it just
That's
so I have
cool.
a copy and like sling it out there. It's a really good one for all that.
I did that with Eckhart Tolle's book,
Power of
The
Now?
Power of Now. Like
Yeah.
I've bought that 3 times and I don't have a copy now because
Yeah.
I've given it away. Like I gave it to my mom. I was like, Mom, you need to read this. She was going through a hard time with,
Yeah.
with
that's-
my grandma passing. It was like, dude. read
Totally.
this. Yeah.
That's what I always do with the four agreements. That's what that book is for me, is because it's all about like personal development and change and kind of like breaking out of what they call like what he calls the dream. You know what I mean?
for sure.
Like you kind of like have this dream like constructed in you by everyone around you, kind of like the idea of like social construction.
Definitely.
But then like that there are certain like behaviors you can adopt that'll help you sort of like dislodge that.
Yeah.
That goes right with
navigate.
the Buddhist perspective of the world is the waking life, where
Yeah.
you're basically dreaming this whole existence.
Yeah.
Duncan Trussell gets into that where he's like, you're basically dreaming, and then when you die, you're like waking up into your next life.
Yeah.
As you like fade away.
Yeah, Sam Harris kind of what's the word? Dissolves that boundary between like dream life and waking life, like with consciousness.
Right.
because it's all kind of like coming from the same space. You know, it's all arising from the same space. Like you might be seeing something now, like visually, or with your third eye or whatever. You can imagine it, and then like, you know, that in itself is very dreamlike.
Right.
It's just everybody just thinks, everybody's so used to it
That's a great point.
that nobody even thinks to look at it.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's looking at their thoughts.
Like, what's the difference
and their
between
feelings.
when you remember a dream? What's the difference between that and like when you're just thinking of something right now?
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty damn similar.
Pretty
you know
damn
what I mean? It's just, but in a dream, you're not doing those like reality checks.
Yeah, all your other senses are muted.
Yeah.
So that's the only one that stands out.
No.
Super interesting. Dreams are like fucking crazy.
Well, yeah.
Well, what about just precognition? Like the simplest explanation of that is like if you have a song in your head that you haven't heard in 10 years, and then you walk into the barber shop and it's playing.
Yeah.
You know, like
Right.
is like you were talking about the Celestine Prophecy, which I have not read, but that you mentioned about coincidences, and that's that kind of a thing. Like a precognition is like you only realize it after the fact. You know what I mean? Like you don't but you can sort of be aware of like, why am I thinking of this thing that I haven't thought of in a while? Like,
Right,
and then
right.
Sort of be on the outlook for that.
Right, right.
Coming up.
Yeah. That's definitely something that happens.
Yeah.
Totally. I've had that experience.
Yeah.
Well, in the Celestine Prophecy too, the whole idea of the book was almost kind of like this, like ancient writings to like evolve human consciousness sort of deal, and like, they have like these insights, and the first one was like there's coincidence. Basically, there's coincidences in your life, and a lot of people will find them to be coincidences and like meaningless, but they're not. They're opportunities. There's meaning to these coincidences, and if you engage with that coincidence and go down the path, it'll lead you somewhere greater.
Yeah, it goes as far as like if you walk into a random restaurant and you happen to make eye contact with a stranger for like 2 seconds, like that person might have some information that you need or
That's wild.
want. Yeah, it's literally that literal in the book.
I mean, the book gets crazy to where there's like, it starts like talking about like auras and energy.
Right.
And like people being like vampires, and they like
What?
suck your energy.
Oh, like
one of my
psychic
favorite.
vampires.
Keep going.
And the really cool thing, the one thing that really blew my mind in the book that I was just like, oh my God, I just wish this was real, was the whole idea that like there's this process you went to where then you would meditate with plants.
Oh yeah, that's
And like nature had like this sort of like boundless energy. And you connect your aura or energy with that, and it literally nourishes you.
right.
Like literally, not figuratively.
Yeah.
Literally nourishes
Yeah,
you.
It makes sense.
And one of my favorite aspects of it, which goes right along with it, is, and I think this is relatable to, reality, is something they call control dramas. And there's like a few different like versions of them, but it's essentially like something like a behavior that is spawned out of like your childhood circumstances and like
Social
just growing
dynamic.
up.
Like
Social
a
dynamics,
coping mechanism.
Yeah, coping mechanisms in a way. Like I think one of them is like aloofness.
Yeah.
Like obvious ones would be like aloofness, and then like more like aggressive.
Yeah.
Like socially, where you like along with that energy stealing thing.
Yeah.
And these are kind of like unconscious things that people are acting out. And the point of the book is to start becoming aware of those control dramas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is essentially, to me, relates directly to like the Buddhist teaching, and everything is just
Or like Eckhart.
examining your mind, just paying attention.
Well, when you think,
Well, the
when
pain body thing, that's very similar to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it's like, these are causal events that have happened to you, like that your body, you're still trying to heal from that trauma.
Right.
And it like affects everything that you do.
What did you call it?
colors
Pain
everything.
body?
Pain body.
Yeah. So like this
The
guy
inner
Eckhart
thing.
Tolle, he talks about like when somebody is like outwardly like aggressive to you.
Yeah.
Like where like somebody's angry, like let's just say somebody's angry. They're coming from like a place of being hurt deeply within their pain body is like where they're speaking from.
Yeah.
And it's like a place inward that they haven't been able to process or walk out of.
That's
And
that's
they
almost
just like live in that shadow. Yeah, it's very close.
It's damn
Yeah.
near
Yeah.
identical.
well,
Yeah.
I think too, like that was the second insight where it talks about like examining your history
Yeah.
as a person and like why you are the way you are.
Yeah.
And how like that is like part of your step towards evolution and understanding like the coincidences and stuff.
Totally.
But and I think too like the control dramas were almost too, they were like they were like the aura and how it would it's a personality type almost, and how it interacted with other energies to sustain itself.
And you would see it in the book.
Yeah,
they would see it literally, physically.
Like Nen.
They could see,
which is pretty cool.
like a vampire.
It made you want to be in that fucking book.
Yeah, it made you want to be.
Well, so is it a
Sucks you in.
novel?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a novel, or it's like a book of teachings?
It's nonfiction.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
so cool about it. Is
Yeah,
that it's
yeah, yeah.
nonfiction that applies to. It's like a nice.
But sometimes, like good art does that, where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, there's something in there. Like I said about Nen, like that's what I like about that show, Hunter x Hunter,
Totally.
is that there's some like realistic thing about it where you're like, oh, I could see how that's true. Like
Yep.
people who are naturally good at things, it's just because they have this energy and it like flows through them in that way.
And they're in touch with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
awesome shit.
when you play and do these things, build and create these things, you're actually imbuing your energy into it.
Yeah.
So like when you see a performer and you're like, whoa, that's actually because they're like throwing their shit
Yeah.
out. You.
That's a great segue. I was gonna say, when Tim fucking hooked us in, like reeled us in with his social skills and his joints.
Yeah, we gotta talk about the joints. We'd be remiss.
And he saw our performance, there was some type of energy exchange there. You know what I mean? There was you saw something.
Yeah.
You felt inclined.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and there's like
We saw something in you that we felt like working with.
That's true.
You know?
It's like a natural, like, because when you do meet the opposite type of person,
Oh yeah.
you're like,
It
like you were
screams
talking about
at
that.
you.
You were talking
Yeah.
about that earlier before we were recording. Like,
Yeah.
the idea of like a person that like has that sort of like spiky energy.
Yeah.
You just don't want to work with.
Even
So
if
true.
they do have joints. Yeah, they do have joints.
Yeah, actually, there's
still
a
don't
one person in
necessarily
mind.
want it.
If
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
it makes him seem more like conniving.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
It's amazing how it colors the behavior.
To,
Yeah.
talk,
How
to,
we
re-
perceive
to
it.
talk to people about what we're talking about. Tim came to see us a couple times at shows and was just kind of like wanting to hang out with us after the show and like, do you guys want to smoke a joint? And by the way, that's a great strategy.
Yeah. Great strategy.
You want to
Yeah.
talk to a mid-level band that
giving
day.
out all my
That's
secrets,
on the road.
dude.
Well, no, because I remember
true,
when
right?
We'll cut that out. We'll cut that out. We'll cut that
he had
out.
done
Family
it. He had done it
recipe,
a couple times. And then, I remember the one time you're like, when we played your venue, you're like, yeah, this is the joints. This is kind of a strategy.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you did that very well. We didn't even care. or
It
notice.
snuck up on
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
man. It was great.
Yeah, it's the
Would you
slow
wanna
approach.
speak to
Yeah.
that? I mean, like,
Yeah, well, I figured it out. I mean, like, I was thinking about this and, like, the best way to get into that, and I, like, go to a lot of shows, so I started observing people that would, like, come up at the merch table, and, like, bands are busy at that time and
Right.
stuff like that. And I realized, too, if you just go to the first show and you just give them the joint and then kind of fuck off,
yeah.
and then the next time you go see him, you give them another joint, they're like, that guy gave me a joint last time.
I can confirm that is how it goes,
Yeah.
dude. I swear to God.
Well,
It's crazy.
The whole fuck off part is actually pretty smart
Yeah.
because it's like, no, I'm not here to take your time.
Yeah.
I'm here to just help you have a good time.
Yeah.
'Cause take that. It shows like that interest in another person's
Right.
well-being in a way.
But
Yeah.
but what you don't see is like the part when we're smoking that joint. We're talking about how that was really cool that guy gave us a joint.
Yeah.
That guy seemed pretty cool. And then the next time you're like, it just somehow we end up wanting to smoke with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick.
Well, and then if you offer to carry things, people like that, too.
Yeah, that's a big one. That is a big one.
It's so true. And then, but there's a way to be too aggressive about that.
Yeah.
Like some people screw that dynamic up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a delicate one.
Yeah.
Well, it's because it's your intentions, right? Like,
Yeah.
like if you're like, I would like to get to know these guys, but I really just want to help them.
Yeah.
Then you're coming from the place of like, can I help?
Yeah.
And less like, what can I do to get in?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's
So
like
true.
that sort of it does come back to what you guys were talking about. Like, if you're really attuned to like what's going on, you can read people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely
And
to a degree.
people are not that complicated, and they're either coming from like a really loving light place, or they're not, and then it's like colored in some way.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it's like, well, so you can
It's pretty noticeable.
yeah.
If you get
Yeah.
used to it.
So
you
it
know,
never
you can
really
feel
came
that.
off like to us that you were trying to like there was an end game.
Yeah.
It was
Exactly.
like,
there really
helping-
hasn't
yeah,
been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been so natural. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, I know the first thing that I really connected with Tim on was when he did do that. I asked him his name, and he was like Tim, and I was like, Tim the Enchanter.
Oh, yeah.
And he like, speaking, we were talking about Monty Python last episode. I mean, like that instantly, I was just like,
Wait, is that a Monty Python thing?
Yeah.
The Enchanter?
Yeah, Tim the Enchanter.
What?
Yeah,
It's so coincidental.
He knew what that was,
Yeah.
and I was like, "You're cool." Yeah, like instantly, I'm
Just
like, "You're
knowing
cool."
about it.
It goes right along with his
My buddy
role.
Keith, his ringtone for me is "There are some who call me Tim."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it just goes on. He'll pick up. He's like, still best ringtone of all time.
But Hunter, you probably don't know this. Just a quick segue. Why that's really funny is because they had like some like crazy name written down for him.
Yeah.
Like my name is Lamo Jamdar, the whatever, and he just like didn't remember. So he's like, there are some who call me Tim.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh great, Tim, please help us on our quest. And it just made it more ridiculous.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
Which actually, I have a little bit of a gripe with you too. Not a gripe, but it's gonna come in. As when I realized the other day, and I was tripping, but I was listening to the White Album by the Beatles.
Oh, yeah?
and it made me realize how much like it's like analogous of like they're the Monty Python of music. Like
Yeah.
they really are. Like Yellow Submarine. Well, that's not on that album, but like Piggies and like there's like some songs that are just like for shits, like to be silly and like little like sounds in the background and like, I was like,
Right.
this is like the musical version of Monty Python. So just like putting that seed down in you. For
Yeah,
everybody, Alex isn't a fan of the Beatles, and it's probably my lifelong lifelong goal to like get him to be like. My goal is just to get Alex to be like, yeah, they're not bad, whatever.
They're okay.
If I can get that,
We've got a really low bar here.
If I can get
I think
that.
that sounds achievable at some
Yeah.
point.
I mean, to be fair, I really don't like them. I really like cannot stand their music.
Okay.
Like,
It's true.
You're not ambivalent towards them. You actively dislike them.
yeah.
Right,
Well, and
right.
okay, there is to a certain extent that my heels have been dug in
See,
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
by the fans.
Yeah.
A little, because I've never said, I don't really like the Beatles, and have someone be like, how can you be a fan of music and not like the Beatles?
Yeah.
They're literally everything.
Yeah.
I live, breathe, sleep, shit, and eat. I'm like, Rush, shut the fuck up. Like I don't
Yeah.
even like. I would listen to Rush over the Beatles. If it was one, I would listen to one Rush song over and over again on repeat for the rest of my life. Then listen
That's a good
to.
one.
But you don't even need to
then
finish that sentence though.
to have the access to the entire Beatles discography all my life.
Yeah.
Like
That's funny.
Yeah.
so I'm just like, bleh.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for avenues in.
Yeah.
You know? I think the Monty Python thing, there might be a van excursion where like
But-
something gets stuck in there.
yeah.
What's the funnier aspect of that though? He likes
Covers of the
those
Beatles.
covers
Oh my god!
I like
that's so
covers of the
true.
Beatles.
that are like what? Is it like
pop
punk?
Perfect, dude.
There's a band called Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, and they're just literally like sort of fast like skater punk
Right.
covers of songs. That's all
Yeah.
they do, and they record them and it's the CD sometimes.
Yeah.
And the one was at a bar mitzvah, and they play Strawberry.
Fields.
Let me take you down.
Strawberry Fields.
Yeah, Strawberry
Yeah.
Fields,
Yeah, yeah.
and I love that.
Yeah.
I jam out to
It's
that.
funny.
And that is the wildest thing. It's like it's not your songs; it's just you as individual people.
Yeah.
That I just hate.
Alex comes in from a lot of different angles when it comes to music.
Yeah, I don't view music the same way.
Like,
Well, the
more-
other thing too
more
is
than I do.
where I came in my trip to listening to the Beatles was that I've been listening a lot to like Motown and like Chuck Berry and like just like pre-Beatles stuff.
yeah, I love that shit.
And like I'm like, oh, I love it. And but then when you make that like connection, it just like highlighted to me like just how amazing they are. Because you go from like Chuck Berry or Elvis, and then like 2 years later, like there's just like the most innovative wild shit that's going on, and it's like still rooted in that.
Right.
I don't know,
No, I hear you, man.
but that's why I was
There's a
like,
reason
man.
that it's it was cultural fucking movement in
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
the
I mean,
song-
hey,
No,
good
Yeah,
for them.
right.
I
It's-
appreciate
it's
what
so
they
funny.
did to music.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I can say that.
Honestly,
Yeah, right.
I'm not.
my
Yeah, I just
approach
don't want to
to
listen to it.
I just don't want to listen to it.
Yeah, that's
I'd rather listen to Buddy Rich or Infant Annihilator or
Well, see, there you go.
you know what I mean. Like, there's just so much other stuff that's like 1,000 times better than that, in my opinion.
It's also like to me though. It's also like the history piece. Like it's like a huge puzzle piece
Right.
of like everything before and after it.
But
It's like
and
a
you are a
nexus.
history nerd for music.
I am, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But it's like, yeah. So I'll listen to things and be like, I'm listening to like Your Blues, and being like, oh man.
Oh, I
like,
saw that performance. that
Yeah,
a
I was
performance?
like, Hunter would like this.
With
and I'm
Keith
like,
Richards and like, is
Oh
that the
no,
Rock
well
and
that
Roll
was
Circus
that
thing?
was the Rock and Roll Circus one, but
Yeah.
the one on the White Album.
Oh, gotcha.
Is the real one. But
Okay. I never heard it. I should listen to it.
yeah, you should. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's funny. When I grew up listening to classic rock, and like my dad liked the Rolling Stones and didn't like the Beatles.
Right.
And I guess like he made me aware or think that there was the feud thing.
Yeah,
You know, and I was like,
like you got to pick a side.
yeah, granted,
Yankees, Mets.
Yeah,
like,
right.
yeah, I don't think that was necessarily a great view to have, because like then I found out, like I see so many videos of them working together and doing shit. It's funny, but yeah, so I didn't like the Beatles growing up that much, really at all.
I didn't either.
Do
Yeah,
you like the Stones?
A couple songs.
He likes Elvis.
I love
yeah,
Elvis.
big Elvis fan. Yeah.
Elvis, Rush. I really like big band jazz. So like,
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of Buddy Rich.
Drummer centric music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like drum forward.
It's true.
That's
music.
probably like
To
Ringo's
be fair.
simplicity is probably a lot to do with it. You know.
Oh yeah,
That
Yeah.
could be.
yeah, nope, yeah, that is.
But
that
it's
is
like
a big part of it.
But he's
to be
trying
fair.
to be simple, you know. Like
That's fine.
it's to accent the like
It's deliberate. Yeah.
bop boom boom bop boom. You know the like
Some
deliberate
stuff's just
beat.
not for
Right,
you, dude.
right.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
that's just what happens. It's like,
Yeah, music is insanely
It's
subjective.
it's weird though.
fucking
Like
crazy.
when you're like working with people on music, like you kind of feel like you should. I don't know, like I like the fact that we like Rush is the bonding thing. So
Yeah,
when
it
you
is.
like something that much, it's like you want your boys to be into it because
Dude, yeah, absolutely.
you like it too.
That's
you
why I
know?
was like,
Yeah.
I said something about the Waking Up app with Sam Harris.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was-
true.
I said something to my dad about it. I was so moved by it.
I mean,
you know?
that's why we've made you listen to entire Iron Maiden albums.
Yeah. It's true.
We're like Power Slave we're gonna play this right now.
you don't really have a choice in the matter right now.
But
Yeah.
it's the Venn diagram of our musical taste is pretty funny though. Because
Well, that's what, like-
at the end of the day, it can get represented like a little bit of love and like there's like things that happen where the Beatles side gets through, you
Yeah.
know, and like Alex is playing drums, so like the Rush thing is gonna come through,
Right.
You know.
Well, I mean,
No
that's
matter
where
what.
innovation comes from, is
Right.
that if you can meld all those
Yeah.
different...
So it's not
like-
a horrible thing. You
No,
know?
it
ends
awesome.
up working out. Yeah.
It works out nicely.
It's being like micro derivative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everything is a tiny bit derivative at the same time. You make
Yeah, you get a
Scrapbook
nice little
music.
little gumbo going.
Gumbo.
gumbo.
So
yeah,
Tim, let's talk about the Bison Barn because for anybody who doesn't know, Tim has this venue, but it's like in what your buddy's garage.
Yeah. So I had actually I came in a little hot when I first got the idea to have a venue, and I like started talking to somebody about what was going to be like a 400-seat venue, which would have
Oh
been
shit!
too much, really.
Right.
It turned out, but COVID came along, and they ended up selling the property, so that was done anyway. And I was trying to figure out what I should do, and my buddy Keith, whose property is on. He and I put together a couple of bands just to play outdoors at the end of the COVID year
Oh,
in
really?
like October.
So you'd already booked a couple shows.
We had just
Getting
done
your foot
one.
in the door.
It was
Oh,
just
just the
like
one.
it was that COVID year, and it was getting towards fall, and we were like, "This is ridiculous, dude. We haven't seen any music in so long. Like, let's just get." My buddy who has the studio came up and
sick.
played, and then a couple other people that we knew, but just like a small thing in his backyard. And I had already started to hatch the idea about in his garage, and asked him about it, and he was like, at the time there wasn't anything in there. It was just like a bunch of junk, really. It was mostly trash. It was just like kind of a big trash can on the other side of his property. So I was like, if I clear this out and like fix it up, can I use this? And he was like, yeah, dude, fuck it, go for it.
That's wild.
So
you
yeah,
did
then-
that over COVID, like
Yeah.
over that whole time, just making this little venue.
Yep, I started in like, I think it was like that winter. So it was real cold in there, but it was worth it at the end.
It's a nice venue.
It is.
It's crazy. It's a garage.
It's
Yeah.
weird how high up it is that like when we did that
Totally.
whole tour, it's definitely one like top 5 places we've
Yeah.
been. Just because
Yeah.
of
Good
what,
sound, good lights, decent, like good environment.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everything about it was
Everything was
cool.
comfortable.
It was
Yeah.
chill.
It is funny though. It really makes the other places look like, what are you doing? Like,
I know.
like
Like, you-
just
you
a
just got through
hobbyist,
it up.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like made his
Even
made
the
a little-
stage alone.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it's an insanely impressive stage, but it's a good stage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's amazing how many places don't have that.
And then the second time we came around, you had a bigger stage.
Yeah.
That's right. You got it at the front.
Yeah.
Whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, well, that's, and like when I went
And the
through
green
it, that's
room
what, like, I started getting to know musicians a little bit, and like my one buddy in particular, and I was like, as I was going into that, I was like, all right, what do you hate that happens at venues? Like, what shit sucks when you have to deal with it? And he was like, don't have the stage bounce. I was like, okay. He was like, make it fucking firm. That sucks. Because he plays a one-man act sometimes, so he does percussion with his feet and plays with his hands. So when it's bouncing, his mic arm is going like this, and he's like trying to sing into it. And so,
that's not.
So he's like, don't have it bounce. So I went through that with like a lot of people and watched how like would go to shows with bands and stuff like that and see how they were treated at venues. I'm like, you could put in like this much more effort and make it like so much nicer. It's really like just the amount of lack of common courtesy. I was like, this seems like all pretty simple. Like, let's see if we can do it in a little teeny tiny format and see if it works out. So that's what we've been doing.
Yeah. Well, you had some sort of like, not huge, but you've had some bigger names there. Which is kind of wild.
Yeah. That's been pretty cool. So Scott Pemberton, who you guys have played with.
Hell yeah.
I ended up similar format to getting to know you guys, but
the joint method.
Yeah.
Tried and true.
So good.
But ended up just like anytime he was out, I would end up at the show, so I'd say what's up to him, and then I had like told him about that I wanted to do a venue eventually, and I finally got that up, and he was like, dude, that's awesome that you did it. So that we actually like, that was probably our biggest show. I think we had 80 people come out for that one, which was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
But then because that show went well, like his booking agent started getting people. So like there's the one girl, Christina Vane, that's a like blues slide guitar player, singer-songwriter.
Nice.
And he reached out about her, and she like, a lot of the time it's people that I know that are coming there, but that time like I didn't pretty much know anybody that came. She like she pulled all the people into this little, and like everyone that was there was like, how did you do this? I'm like, yeah, just trying,
Which that's kind of like if you'd like to hit the ball. That's kind of one of the reasons, we dig the idea of working with you is because really at this level of being in like a band or, doing anything, it's like you have to basically start this business and your business has like many, many roles. And then you just have to divide those roles between a guitarist, a drummer, and a bass player.
Right, yeah.
And those are people that are not necessarily...
We are not fit for the job.
Yeah.
Let's just be real. We're not fit.
No, you just make it happen the best you
way.
can. Yeah. And you take the guy who has the most, personable, front-facing personality, and you have him do all the bitch work. And then you have, like, I know how to mix, so I'm going to do all that bitch work. And, Alex likes to drive and hump shit, so he'll do that bitch work.
Yeah.
But it's like, really, at the end of the day, that's kind of what you're doing. You're like, I'm going to be this venue, and you're just doing all the bitch work.
Yeah.
You're doing everything that needs to happen because... you kind of see the end goal, see like, this is what needs to happen is I need a team of 5 people, but I just have one guy, so I'm just going to do it all.
Right? Yeah.
So that's like, for me, I see that and I'm like, that's the guy we want on our team.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the
Dude,
guy who's going to do
true.
2 or 3 things like we're doing,
Well, we were talking about before just with how like touring and everything like that, and like a lot of it's just proving you're serious. And like it was really interesting to see the difference between having conversations where like it was an idea to where I then actually went and built it, and it was a physical thing that was like ready to go. And that like that's such a drastic shift. It's like now this is a real thing that exists, and like, oh, he's serious enough that he actually did all the work and made the groundwork.
Well, people
happen.
talk all the time about stuff. People can even come up with great ideas, and then they just don't know how to enact it.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, that follow through is big.
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of
prep
that
work.
Yeah.
Prep work. Like when you paint, like I used to be a painter, and one thing that I know very well is that the physical act of painting, there's very little things that you have to do to make it look nice. But to make a paint job look good, you got to really do all the prep work. Yeah. You got to make sure that the wall is prepped to accept that paint. And so if you do that first, when you try to see it, it's more likely to slap something against the wall. It's more likely to stick, I guess.
Yeah. That's a good point. And getting like the system down, like if we had to figure out how to do this podcast every time, we figured it out, and then we'd try it and tweak it.
Right. I'm holding back the call.
The pre-planning is key.
Yeah.
So do you got anything cooking up for this season, or have you thought about the summertime again, or
Yeah, I think we're
going
to get back into it in April. Last year we tried a little bit in the wintertime, and it's just too cold.
For that venue too, a lot of people spill out into the
Outside
garage and everything.
Yeah. So I think we're looking at April for doing that, and then well, you guys played fourth on the farm too.
Yeah.
So my buddy Adam,
Which was a great time.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
So he and I have been teaming up and starting to do like other production stuff too. So like we built, or mostly he built, but I will run like a little mobile light rig that he put together.
Oh, cool.
So we ran that on New Year's Eve for the first time. So we're starting to try and put that kind of stuff
Like
together.
more
doing
festival type events.
Yeah, and just like kind of wherever we can, especially in
Yeah.
our area, because
Yeah.
our scene.
Well, what's the
sucks.
biggest
So-
venue? What's the biggest venue around you? I mean, what like Reading? Right?
Yeah, so there's Wind Creek is at the casino up there in Bethlehem.
Sure.
And that's
That gets
a
certain-
couple thousand.
Yeah, but that's only going to get a certain tier of people.
Yeah,
How close are you to Lebanon? Are you close?
not too close.
Okay, I didn't think so. I was gonna say Reverb in Reading. That's the only venue I can.
I mean, really,
I mean,
Philly
no,
is
that's-
kind of the closest.
Oh,
for
Is
Philly's
that,
the
is that in
closest.
Lebanon? No, that is in
but
Reading, isn't it?
all of the like
Correct.
the
Is that a
mid-level
Lebanon
bands
venue?
that I like to see, they don't come through our area.
Yeah,
like,
they
at
don't
all.
come through. So that's what's cool is it's like you kind of are being that niche, you know?
I'm trying.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's selfish means. I'm tired of driving places to see the bands. I want to
Do you have
I just want to like come over here.
yeah?
and
Well,
play
do
this
you have a
place.
website or
Yeah, it's
Facebook page, whatever?
yeah, both bisonbarn.us is the website, and that's actually getting an overhaul this month.
Sick.
So yeah, we'll get into that.
That way, if anybody's listening or watching wants to play, like halfway between Philly and like Reading, that sort of middle area.
We're on the way to New York.
On the way to New York. Oh yeah. If you're going the other way, outside of Philly,
Yeah.
between Philly and New York.
It's so true. It's a nice spot to hit, especially for touring bands.
Yeah, and everybody that
Yes.
came out was super into it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we had those kids come out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
that was the one
a
kid's
fucking
first
blast.
show. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a great.
Oh yeah, it was
experience.
his first show
I
ever.
forgot that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, that's right.
Folded that kid's brain in half.
Dude, that kid was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
I think we gave him a set list or something. And actually, all those kids bought shirts and shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was a fun night.
Fucking great.
And then
man.
came back out. I
Cool.
don't know if
Yeah.
you heard the story about them coming. They like ended up parking at the end, like where the initial parking lot that you drive through to get onto the property is.
Yeah.
They ended up parking down there, and the one kid came running down the entire driveway because he didn't know if he was in the right spot, and like comes up to the gate and asks if it is, and they could hear you guys
Oh, yeah,
starting
shit.
from down there.
Shit.
So all the other kids come running up, and they like definitely don't have enough money, and the person running the gate was like, "You guys should just go in. You seem like you're really invested." And they're like, "Yes."
Well, I remember
That's
playing
so
and then
great.
seeing them come
yeah,
up.
yeah.
That was fun.
And somebody came up to Adam later, and they're like, "Is that okay?" And he's like,
That's totally-
that's
that's
fine."
totally cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
fine.
That's awesome.
They were so hungry for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Jeez.
Well, you hope that's what it is. I mean,
And they were all
'cause-
really nice. They were all really nice and polite and very sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. But
Good kids.
being in a rock band is a weird thing because, you know, especially us, you can't really quite pigeonhole. You know, it's hard to know if people are hungry for that out there.
Yeah.
But when people sometimes they see it and they don't even know they were hungry for it.
Yeah.
And they're like, holy shit.
I'd
rock
say
music.
that's,
Right,
the most,
yeah.
that's the reaction we get mostly
Yeah,
when
it
we
is.
play a new place and make new fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know I needed that, but that was fucking sick.
Yeah. I forgot about rock for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way, I wish it wasn't just us, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, Greta Van Fleet, if you're listening,
Yeah.
we'll go on the road with you anytime.
Yeah.
Help do this fucking rock thing right, you know?
Yeah, man.
But you know that could turn because it's interesting. You listen to a lot of people talk about the current state of the arts. It's interesting. I was watching. I went back and watched a bunch of Quentin Tarantino movies recently. There's a couple I hadn't seen, and then I was just like, "Fuck it." But to hear him talk about like the different decades of film and how it's kind of like if you really pay attention, there's an analog between that and the music scene too. And really, Hollywood or the machine, he looks at now as like the new 80s, you know, where everything's like driven by technology and really sterile and prefab and like safe. And it's like, what happened after that? Well, you know, the 90s, like rock came back, you know, it was
Right.
like the pushback, you know. So one likes to hope it's like a rubber band getting pulled back, the
Yeah.
momentum, and then eventually rock will get propelled forward, and hopefully we'll be there when it happens. But you never know.
Yeah, you got to stay hopeful.
You
There
do.
is a sentiment too that like guitar led music is just dead.
Yeah,
Right.
Like that is like a sentiment that people have.
it is.
Right.
Like that-
So true.
But
Yeah,
that's
it's
been
dead.
being said forever too. Like people have thought that's gonna die. Well, your boys, the Beatles. Everyone thought that
You're right. Rock was
the guitar was gone.
Oh, yeah.
until
Rock
they
was
came
dead
back.
in 1972.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then the 70s happened.
That's so funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
In a way, the 60s ended that day, December 31st, 1969.
Dude, that reminds me. Did you guys see that the 70s show now has the 90s show?
I did see that.
Did you watch it?
No.
I don't think it's
No,
out yet.
It's out Thursday,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
and I am going to be watching.
I'm
it.
going
Yeah.
to watch it
Do you
too.
have high hopes?
No.
Yeah, okay, good.
It,
But
You
does
have
it,
to have tempered
my
expectations.
first. Sorry, you go first. Go ahead.
Red and Kitty are in it,
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
and so
Well, and then Fez is in it.
Fez is in it too.
I thought that they were all in it at some point.
They are all in cameos.
Yeah, exactly.
At least in the first
Right.
episode.
But it seems like the main cast is still like the whole. I mean, if it's still Kitty
It's the Foreman house.
in Red, it's gonna be
I have
at
s-
least a little good.
I have
Yeah,
mixed
yeah,
feelings about the house. Like, part of me loves that it's the same house, and then part of me is like, it's weird that it's different people in the same house.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's almost like and especially because it's the same parents.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, you'd think it would just be a whole different family, but it's not. I don't know.
Well, it's the
I'm gonna watch it. I gotta
they're
see the
grand-
dynamic.
They're the grandparents
Of
and then
those
I guess
kids?
it's of like at least one of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So it's like she's coming home for the summer or whatever.
Yeah.
like to spend the summer at grandma's or grandparents.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the way. That's the way too. Like, frame it in your head. Like, this isn't a show about like me. You know what I mean? Like, or this is more like a show about me, and less of a show about like my grandparent. Dude. Hold on.
You're trying.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's trying to come out, but
It's
it's,
okay.
too abstract. My
Yeah,
brain.
dude, I hear you. I hear you.
My brain.
Yeah, it's okay.
I had it in my
that's
head.
I have that all the
I
time.
think that's
Man
what
brain.
Hunter's saying though. Is that,
Man brain.
it could be too. It
Are
could
you
be
guys writing
too.
a hook for that?
Well, it's
We
gotta
haven't
be.
yet, but we're gonna.
I mean, in my head, it's just the tune of Panama.
Fan brain.
Fan brain. Fan brain.
We just gotta do we just gotta do our own version of that.
We're gonna do a jam. We're gonna do basically over the course of the next few months, like many jams, and probably during the course of every jam, one of us will say Van Brain and see if it sticks.
See if
almost
any
like-
clip.
Because we have a Patreon,
Roadhouse.
Medusa's Disco. What page?
Brain.
It's either medusasdisco.patreon or patreon.disco, whatever. it is.
Patreon.
But on our Patreon, we just released. We released like demos and stuff, and like rarities.
It's
and-
good quality though. It's like the same, pretty much same quality as the albums, basically,
Yeah.
but live.
But we just released a little thing of the upswing, the single we just did.
Yeah.
And it's like the proto riff of one of the
Yeah.
like one of the riffs, and like you can see like it goes like you can kind of like see, but we'll probably take something like that where it's like a little tune or a riff,
Yeah.
and then make that the intro. Or
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yep.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be fun.
yeah.
Yeah,
As
definitely.
things progress.
Yeah, never something I've ever done. By the way,
What, a theme
making
song?
music like that? Yeah, I've never done like that's fucking new.
Blanket sauce. No.
What's that?
That's so funny that popped in your head.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's because funny music.
Yeah, me and Alex collabed on a song once. I wrote the guitar, you wrote the lyrics. Wasn't that how it was, kind of?
We collabed on
On the guitar too.
Yeah.
And then it's funny, but then the riff, diddle-it, 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 ended up
That's
being
in,
Atomic
yeah,
Seven.
I was gonna say.
The rhythm ended up, yeah, it's so funny. So
What was the original word? There was words there during that riff.
diddle-it right there.
Yeah. Well, you do the riff and you sing the lyrics.
It's yeah. Well, how's it go? I mean, I could grab a guitar and play it.
I had a dream. Covered you in blanket sauce. It's so funny. Security. Blanket made of blanket sauce.
Yeah, it's
so
pretty
weird.
good.
I mean,
It's really strange.
these guys have such a like history of little nuggets like that.
Yeah.
Which is
Truly
really
do.
funny. Like even though I've been like with the band for like 3.5 years, maybe I don't know, 3 or 4 years, something
Almost
like
4.
that. Almost 4.
Yeah.
It's like there's stuff like that I find out about every fucking day.
Yeah.
It's so good, it's so funny.
Yeah,
Just old nuggets.
Just yeah,
shit
just,
that we forgot about too, probably.
exactly.
I'm a weird guy and I do a lot of weird things. So
It's a lot of spontaneous, random brain shit. I swear to God, it's Van Brain.
yeah.
It's
is
like it
what it
really
is.
is.
Well, who came up with Van Brain?
Who came up with it?
Yeah, wasn't it Alex?
It was one of us.
I can't
don't
remember.
know. I don't remember exactly when we coined it.
Hard to say.
It's hard because it
Yeah,
wasn't.
it's hard to say.
Was that during
We
Anthony
were in
times?
Van
Or
Brain.
that was.
We were like in that mode of Van Brain.
Was that
when we
Jay
thought
or was
of it.
that Anthony? Like what era of bassist?
We did the most touring with Jay. I would think that it was probably around Jay times.
No,
Before?
I actually think it was Tyler.
Yeah.
I do think it was
Oh,
that
yeah,
first
yeah,
tour. Because
Oh yeah, it was the first tour.
Because that was the Prolapse tour.
Yeah. We already had it.
Yep.
Yeah, we already had it with Tyler.
The
Yeah.
prolapse.
Yeah.
And like that was like the best way we could think of putting it was because we were just like literally being like, I mean, we were being edgelords almost. It was like just in the van.
Yeah.
Just saying a bunch of shit that sounded fucked up.
Almost, you know, like stream of consciousness, almost no filter.
But sometimes, sometimes when you say the most offensive thing, if you're in the right company, no one's gonna judge you about
It's
it.
true.
It's just funny to get yucks, you know.
Yeah, it is technically, Van brain is like a vulnerable thing.
Yeah.
You know? It is hard to fully like manifest it in this setting.
Yeah.
But the general idea is kind of that. you
It's
know?
way
Yeah.
unfiltered.
Yeah,
Super
it is way
unfiltered.
unfiltered.
Just like you just say what is intrusively in your head.
Yeah.
Like everybody has intrusive thoughts. I mean, like
Yeah.
Yes, the intrusive. Yeah, just giving.
It just leans that way more than usual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
much.
it's that silliness and that trust of your audience.
It's
you
like
know?
we just played a show and now it's 3 a.m. We're driving home and we're not going to get there till 5:30 in the morning.
And maybe Alex is just going vagina, vagina, butt hole, vagina,
And then,
vagina.
maybe
See, he never did that, but he definitely could.
And then maybe he's in low power mode.
Yeah.
And then he'll just randomly pop out like 45 minutes and just randomly say something like out of sleep,
That's true.
basically.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
just off the wall. It's crazy.
Or what
It's
you
a great
would be
time.
saying and it will cause me to laugh and wake up.
Yeah, laugh and wake up.
Laugh
all
and-
the time.
oh,
You can
yeah.
do that all the time.
Yeah.
My most
Love it,
often
dude.
repeated phrase when I'm doing van brain in the van is probably chicken grease and salt.
Yeah.
Do that. Chicken grease and salt, chicken grease and salt, chicken grease, grease.
I
salt,
like
salt,
the
yeah,
truck
salt,
stop chicken.
Yeah. Truck stop chicken's good.
It's Park Bench Pigeons truck stop chicken.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
Eating bread.
Truck stop.
Truck stop chicken eating bread. Got the van brain going to my head.
Yeah, that's fun shit.
It's a real thing. But also, it's like, when your perception of a kid, and it comes back to the Beatles too, because like, no, it really does, because they're like, because in my head when I think of
That's
like,
so
imagine like, I don't know if you've probably seen like footage of them like running around and like being like silly, like the perception publicly of them was that they're having a laugh the whole time, and like and that they're that kind of zany, like fun, good times all the time.
Right.
And that was like their public facing but it's like, so you think like being in a band is going to be like that, like you're going to be in a van with your best friends driving
Right.
around like conquering the world, and just having a laugh,
Right.
And then it's a lot of times it's not like that at all,
Right.
And like somebody's fucking a big downer, or like there's problems, or the van breaks down, or like
Yeah.
so it's like the fact that like, I don't know, like in the 90th percentile we're having that like Beatle yuck all the time. It's
Yeah.
it's a good time.
Totally,
It's
man.
like, man, that's how it should be. That's how you think it is gonna be.
Yeah.
But it's nice that it is that way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's shitty
So true.
circumstances
Well said.
traveling.
We're the Beatles, basically. Is what I'm saying.
Alex quits the band on the spot.
But even though you don't like him, if somebody compared us to him, you still have to see that as a compliment.
Yeah. And yep.
Hey, that's as good as him saying I like the Beatles.
So
too.
true. He said yeah 3 times.
I'm
So
good.
mission
And
accomplished.
then he said yeah.
We can talk about. Well, you got
was
you got a
reluctance.
PBR shirt on. Did you notice his PBR shirt?
Yeah.
That's the
I
sick
think that's
shirt.
the first thing I said when I saw him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I do love that
what's your?
shirt.
Because we play with them a lot. Well, I've only played with them. We only played with them once with me because then they broke up.
But the band.
But the band has a
totally.
history with those guys.
Yeah.
And partying with Nico and man, that's a fun time when you hang out with Tim and those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's so true.
what's your experience like with those guys? Did you get a joint in or what?
So I caught that was at the beginning of formulating those plans and at the end of their career. So
Yeah.
like
Right.
I caught them like way late. I ended up seeing them actually in Bethlehem at Music Fest up there.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah.
And I literally went to take a leak and heard Nico playing drums from around the corner, and I
Yeah,
was
you
like,
did.
I don't know what's going on over
Yeah,
there,
you
but
did,
I
yeah.
need to see it
Oh, my God.
immediately.
Yeah.
So we went, and it was like a rainy day, so there weren't that many people out, and we just watched them shred face. For
What year was
an
that?
hour and a half.
Sounds like our music.
Yeah, I
fest.
wonder if that was the music fest that because they were there.
2018, maybe.
Yeah, that was the
18?
one.
It was the one that we played.
Was it the one Godsmack? Do you know if Godsmack?
That's right. I do remember
I
hanging
have
out
no
with
idea
Nico
who was
after Music
headlining.
Fest.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I do remember that show.
Yeah, we hung out. It was the show before
We were-
the Godsmack show.
We were sketched out about the rain. right?
We were sketched out about
because
that.
it was
Wasn't
an
it
outside
wet?
pavilion. But no, they just
Yeah.
showed
Super
up.
wet,
Well, no,
and they-
Tim wasn't there, but it was Nico and
Yeah, Nico
the
was there.
bassist.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Matt,
yeah.
right?
Matt.
Nico and
Yeah.
Matt, yeah.
And
Matt.
they were raging with us. That was a
Yeah.
good time.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, we did that.
So what you
more
you
than a
just
few
you
times
just
a
heard
time.
him and you ran up there to see him because you
Yeah.
were just at Music Fest checking it out.
Yeah, and
That's wild.
watched that whole set and had my face blown off.
They turn heads, man.
And
They're
then
so good.
they came
So
to Milk
true.
Boy in Philly, and I went down to see him for that's where I got
Oh yeah,
my shirt.
that's more on your turf.
Yeah. So I went down, and like as the show was starting, a dude that was in the know about things, he was like, "Yeah, they're breaking up," and I was like,
Fuck.
"What, are you serious right now?"
yeah.
That's so. Me and my one buddy, who's like, he's like somebody that will listen to anything, but doesn't really have like stuff that he's like real invested in. And this
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like his first like favorite band.
Yeah.
Was PBR, and they. So he and I drove down to Richmond for their last show in Richmond before they
That's awesome.
hung it up.
Yeah.
So they were dope, but yeah, I didn't.
I know people that went to that.
Yeah.
That was wild.
It was a good show.
Yeah.
Did you go to that?
What?
No, you didn't go.
No,
to that
he
one.
wouldn't.
You went to a New Year. Did you go to a New Year's PBR show? You didn't go to that?
No, yeah, the one in Baltimore.
one? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know
went-
why that popped in my head.
It was a big event.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, went there. He was opening. They were opening up for Marcus King.
Oh, that's so sick.
Yeah.
I love Marcus
That bill
King.
makes sense a lot.
Yeah, that was a great show. I
It
love
actually
that.
sucks for a lot of reasons that they're not around anymore. But I
Oh,
feel
totally.
I feel like they would be another like
Yeah.
voice like in the same thing we're
So
trying
we-
to do. Like
yeah,
the
we
rock movement.
Central PA.
Yeah.
Would have been there would be a scene if it was us
Yeah.
two. You know.
I'll
Yeah,
talk.
it's
About,
such a good rock
I'll
band.
talk about this all the time, like especially if we go bigger. Shout out to the Central PA festival scene, and just like the music scene in Central PA, because it is there. And getting into the festival scene was one of the things that was one of the biggest audiences that we opened up to, other than like when we first started in the city of Lancaster.
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
had younger kids going to shows, but you kind of lose it because they go to college and shit, and like the
That's
fan
so
base
true.
kind of dwindled. But then we found a resurgence in the Central PA Fest scene, and PBR was one of the bands that was in it playing Peace of Mind Fest.
Yeah.
And they were a rock band, and there wasn't a lot of rock. There just
True.
isn't a lot of rock.
Yeah.
There's a lot of jam bands, a lot of Grateful Dead cover, type shit.
Yeah.
Not a lot of rock.
Not a lot of rock.
Yeah.
So yeah, we loved instantly connected with PBR.
Yeah.
Yeah, instantly.
Yeah.
Well, and I didn't see him the first year. So like the first year we played.
Oh, everyone was just talking about it.
Yeah, I didn't actually see them. I had to leave.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Before they played.
Gotcha.
And then the next year I saw them and I was just like, I missed this last year.
I swear
Oh
they
yeah, because
I swear they were peaking right around that time.
Oh, and it was so
Because
good.
like before they broke up, it was like
Nico is
you could
like-
kind of see
Nico.
it. You could kind of tell it was happening.
yeah, you could see the
Yeah.
band dynamic.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. That's just what happens, But like, yeah, that show blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
Blew my mind,
Yeah.
and I was inspired as fuck.
Yeah.
And honestly, I remember when I first saw them play, or like they did like a hot box session, like the Districts did.
Mhm.
And what's that song? What's a popular song? Cocaine Powder.
Cocaine Blues or whatever. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I remember just thinking like, man, I want to be as big as this band.
Yeah.
Like I want to play with this band.
Yeah.
And then somehow, like a year and a half, 2 years later, maybe it was even sooner, we just found our way in with Crystal.
Yeah.
And Peace of Mind. And next thing I know, like we've been working with them for years now. And it's just like, and now that we're there working with them, it doesn't feel like we gained anything.
No.
But we kind of did.
Well,
but it's just life,
The thing about it is,
It's a
is, like,
perception of
when
it,
they break.
you know?
I mean, this is directly relates to us too, because when you go through a band breakup, someone leaves the band or something like that. I mean, for them, they were already a trio. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
But it's like for us, we had that option. Like Tim's still doing his thing, Mighty Good Times.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
killing it.
Yeah.
But I mean, gosh, it's harder to build from scratch again instead of calling it PBR. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. They're actually doing really good with
They
that.
are doing good.
Yeah,
but
I'm
you can
impressed.
imagine just where they'd be.
Tim, a lot of people believe in Tim now.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
think that picked
Yeah.
up a lot for them just because he was attached.
It's
for
so
sure.
true. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
awesome.
that's why we decided ultimately, when Winton left, it was like, well, we're still Medusa, we're still here, And that wasn't an easy decision to make, but
No.
at the end of the day, there's lots of like precedents in rock history of people leaving and getting a new singer or getting a new guy or whatever. Like it happens all the time.
Yeah.
But in that situation, man, what do you do?
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah, that was almost like a rock and a hard place, decision wise.
Yeah. What for us?
For us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that. I thought that's what you're talking about.
No. I was relating to like the fact
Yeah,
that like,
I understand what you're saying now.
For Tim being
The
like
other
at good times, it's hard. It's maybe a little harder.
There was a step before that too, where PBR did have like 5 members.
Oh really?
They had
really?
they had a key player.
Yes.
Yeah, and
I didn't know
I do
that.
believe there was one other guy. Like,
Oh
and
shit!
then,
So they got down to those.
yeah, and then I remember Tim voicing to us about how he was unsure about whether the 3-piece would work because they had never done a 3-piece,
Oh, they're
and then
so
they
gross.
made after Good Time Suicide. That's the album that has 5 members or 4.
Okay.
The one after it, the one that has
Hard on blues and stuff on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then the one like when we met them, they were recording it and releasing it. It has god damn it, has Burning an Oak Tree on it.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that shit called? Oh, Quit or Die.
Quit or
Yeah.
Die.
Yeah.
I knew it was something or die.
So
Yeah,
that was
Quit or Die.
the first trio album.
That was the first trio album.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was so fucking dope.
Yeah.
Oh god, I love it. I love it.
It's crazy how much that like their sound did influence Medusa.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
Like especially during that period of time.
Tim,
if you
it-
look at the
yeah.
songs that were written during that period of time.
He influenced me lyrically,
Yeah.
hardcore. I remember a direct, like when I was writing Book Upon My Shelf, it was one of the first songs I had made a point to write the lyrics first and then find music to go with it.
Oh, that's
Because I didn't
interesting.
want to be constrained
Yeah.
by the music.
Trying
Yeah,
to fit
yeah,
it
yeah.
in.
And I was like, I think that's like the Dylan approach, the Tim Beavers approach in a way where like
Well, poetry first.
it's poetry first.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I realized that I could do that. So, and it comes out. It's almost it
Yeah,
has
but
its own.
Do you do that now
Burning
though,
an
right?
Oak Tree is
I do that.
unreal.
I did
For your
that
solo stuff.
I did that with Town Rat Heathen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you can tell when, like you said, you were able to say Dylan right away. Like you can tell when
Yep.
certain people are like that.
Exactly.
Because it has more of like it almost, not that it doesn't matter what the chords are, but it's not the focal point.
Yeah.
You know? Which it is interesting, especially in the band like PBR where like that really can be pulled off when the music is so fucking strong behind it.
So true.
So where
Yeah.
it's like
Powerhouse.
I never
dude.
really considered it that way because
yeah.
it never really came off that way.
Right,
But
yeah.
like seeing Tim now, it comes off that way.
Right. That
Where
makes
it's like,
sense.
it's like, oh, this is a solo guy being supported,
Right.
and like it's about what he's trying to say,
What he's trying to say.
in his story.
Definitely. Yeah.
Which is like
Tim has a great story.
That's the great
Yeah.
thing about Tim is like
Yeah.
he's kind of one of those figures where when you do watch him play, you kind of want to hear what he has to say.
Yep. Nailed it. I agree.
There's something about the 3-piece, like personally, that I really love. It's just like so clean. There's like not that many elements going on, so
Yeah.
you can like focus that sound and everything like that.
Right.
So when I first saw them, I was like, that's sweet. And then seeing you guys was the first time that I'd felt any of that kind of like power since I'd seen those guys. Which
That's
I was
awesome.
Did you
like,
see us as a 4-piece or?
No,
That's
Right.
the first time I saw you was as a 3-piece.
I remember
Yeah,
you
that's cool.
saying that you like preferred a 3-piece sound.
Yeah.
Like you kind of like lean.
Well, it just like sometimes I look at the number of people on a stage and the amount of sound coming off of it. I'm like, the thing about 3 pieces is everything's so separated and like can come
Yeah.
together cohesively instead of having all this stuff going on at once. I don't
Yeah.
know.
There's more-
It's
there's
just like
more-
for power,
Yeah.
it just feels like
It's weird
the best
how
thing to me.
how crazy is that? Less is more.
Yeah.
It is.
That is so true.
Well, because you can get away with being sloppy sometimes.
you have more space for each instrument.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
And then it can just be like beefed.
Yeah.
I love that, Tim. I
Yeah,
love
for
that.
rock in particular.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
I'm not against having more instruments, obviously,
Yeah.
but for like real power, that's like
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at a lot of 2-guitar bands, a lot of the like stuff that's really good, like Thin Lizzy, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, like a lot of the time, like if you listen to the record and you don't ever see it live, like it could be one guitarist.
Yeah.
Like as
Totally.
far as like they're doing harmonies and they're doing things that are like the same
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
the time. So you can reproduce like the sound of like us on record or like Iron Maiden on record. It's not that different. As much as you think having an extra person
yeah.
would be.
Right.
Right.
Because a lot of times people are aiming, it's when you have people doing all kinds of stuff where it can get money. But the best ones that have 2 guitars are all like Thin Lizzy, like in sync,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of when I think of like mixing guitars, I think of fucking Leonard Skinner.
Oh yeah,
3 guitarists.
that's true. You never think that there's 3 guitars,
Dude, yeah, it's
It never
crazy.
seems too much.
No, it doesn't.
No.
They're really good
You're right, they're
at
the best.
gelling
They're
with
the
each
best at
other.
that.
Well-
Dude, it's crazy.
And at this point now, like a band like Iron Maiden that had 2 guitars, like they had like people leave and come back, and they like so they tour with 3 guitarists
Oh shit.
Wow.
now. You
Oh, yeah,
what I
'cause
mean?
they-
And have been
all the guys are back.
since,
Right,
like
yeah.
2012.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
All the dudes are back. So it's Dave Murray, Adrian Smith, and Janet Gears. So it's like all 3 of them.
But
and,
it's
and they do it so good.
But when you listen to Iron Maiden with Alex or with somebody that like knows him that well, like he's like, oh yeah, here's this guy's solo. Oh yeah, and this guy, and then like
This
like
is a style thing.
it's my dad
Gotcha.
did that with me with Judas Priest. He's like, this is you can obviously tell it's this guy playing it, and then when you do that, you can hear the oh yeah that they do have different guitars tones that you can hear. Or like Boston, the 2 guitar players from Boston have a different sound. But
Yeah, that's a great
kind of
example.
reads as one, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great tone.
Yeah, great tone.
So true.
Well, we're pretty good on time.
I mean, I can't even tell because we get so stoned.
it's been about an hour.
Has it?
Yeah, like 50 minutes.
Sick, dude. Yeah, that was. I mean, it's been
Yeah,
cool. Real. Is there anything that we want to say?
Well, we just wanted to give a shout out to Tim
Tim-wise?
for joining us. BisonBarn.us. You can check out what he's doing up there in April.
Is there a description? Can we throw that shit in the or like in the description?
I'm sure we'll figure that out.
We'll
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say?
That's what I'm saying. Like promote.
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
fun.
Yeah.
No, was glad to be on. It was good.
Yeah, we'll probably have Tim on various times because he's our manager and involved with the ongoings of the band. So having him around is good. And I know Alex has said multiple times that we just like talking with you and having you around. So
You're a charismatic dude, and I mean, I
feel free
I
to
always
come.
thought you were cool. So
Yeah. Feel free to come by anytime. This has been Van Brain. Thanks for being with us, and
Van
thank you
Brain.
guys for listening and watching it. And we'll see you next time.
see you next time.
Peace out.
Van Brain.
Van Brain.